We welcome you to the meeting of the Airport Authority Board.
Here's this. Don't be afraid to bang it if you have to.
That's so unlike me.
Sometimes just have to do that.
Everybody's so excited to be here.
I know. It's like they haven't seen each other in months.
We'll begin by asking for a motion to approve the minutes from the October meeting as they have been provided.
I move to approve the minutes.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the minutes from the October 2nd meeting. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or any changes? Thank you. I'm going to move that hangar site lease requests a little further down the line. Let's go to manager's report.
Morning, everybody. Janine, you got that slideshow? We're got a couple visuals here today to, instead of me describing, hopefully we can get a picture or two up here of what's been going on at the airport. In the meantime, we'll observe a moment of silence for the end of summer.
Snow plowing will come way too soon.
I know, you're right. That's okay.
Are you looking for first the financials?
No, I sent her a
Just some
presentation.
photos.
We're gonna play.
Thanks.
While he's waiting for that, Executive Danes will be joining us shortly. He had an earlier meeting, and Ryan Snow is out of the country at this time. So,
Okay, she's got it. Oh. You're so awesome, Janine. Thank you. Okay. You can just go ahead and click through into the first one. You want me to click them? Of course, picture of our airport here.
Jeepers, that's beautiful.
Yeah, that's from the abandoned runway looking back towards the airport. And anyway, go ahead and click to the next one. So this is an overhead picture of the south ramp. And the next picture will show, as we click through a couple, some of the pavement that we had fixed. So here's one of the big cracks. That's right in front of Joe Bates' hangar. I like saying Joe Bates, so every meeting I'll just say your name, Joe. That's right in front of Joe Bates' hangar, and that's been patched now. Can we go ahead and click through again? Here's some of the cracks that we had, some of the condition that that south ramp was in. That old dry pavement there, you can see a crack forming down the middle. There's some big alligator cracks. Go ahead. And there you see where they came in and they filled cracks with that sealant. Go ahead. And then once all the cracks were filled, we did a top coat and they sealed the top of it. So that whole south ramp now, go ahead, Jeannie. Oh, wait, why did I put that in there? That's pretty neat. That was just a cool airplane that landed one day and I put that in there. Go ahead.
landing fees.
Yeah. So here's another picture of, just the work that was done there on that south ramp. I just took a couple pictures as they were working. There's that crack that's been removed and they put a patch in, and there's the finished work. There's that whole south ramp now has been crack sealed and top coated, which to my understanding hasn't been done in quite some time. So that's how it looks today. And oh, look at that, another one. Now every time a helicopter lands and I hear it come, I'm out there taking a picture. It still beats in my heart. So Anyway, then another project that was completed this month between last meetings and this meetings was, this is a PAPI control unit. And you'll see now that it's in the distance there, you'll see a little orange box. That is a PAPI light. And 2 years ago when we had our airport inspection from the FAA, that control unit that's closer to you was right next to the orange box in the distance, and that's how it had been for years. And they said that can't be there. That's in the non-movement area. It's in the object-free area. So we had to move that. You can see it's been moved. It's now just over 250 feet away from the center line. We had to be careful not to move it too far because you didn't want to have a power drop because of the distance that you traveled with the electricity. But anyway, that project has been completed. Brett, we're still waiting on a bill. Get that to us, we'll get you paid. This is the south end. You'll see in the distance there, EP Systems and the railroad, or the carnival ride there in the back. You can kind of reference where this is. And here's the one up at the north end. So this is taken from the viewpoint of the PAPI boxes, and that's the control unit off in the distance. So it's just this facing the same direction. That's the mountains to the east, and then the runways to my back when I took that pictures. But those have been completed. Now the FAA has been notified. They're satisfied with where they are and the work that's been done. Airport Road. When you turn into the airport from Airport Road, it's a tight road. If there's a car in that right lane trying to turn left or right, and you're on Airport Road trying to turn in, the tendency is to cut that corner a little bit, and rightly so, because we have bigger vehicles now and it takes more to turn. And so there's been this pothole developing, and we filled it in a couple times, and we finally decided, let's fix it. So we did. We dug it out, made a form, and then we started mixing cement. There's Valerie mixing cement. There's Casey packing it in. We put some wire down in there. We did it so it's not going to crack, but here's the finished product. So now where that pothole used to be and alignment causing bumps used to be is a nice smooth patch of concrete. So we're trying to make things nicer for people that come and go. So we've completed that. The next item is a video Janine's going to show here off of YouTube. There's a grant that we submitted for, and this will describe a little bit, this will give you an introduction, then I'll go on to describe a little bit more. No sound? So this is the electric airplane that flew in from back in March to our airport and Beta, there's a good logo, produced this plane. It's the first one that will likely be certified, and Beta wants to be in Utah, and they want to provide an air taxi between Logan and Salt Lake International, 6 to 8 shuttles per day. And so that guy there at the podium was describing, recently they met with the state of Utah, and the state of Utah has put together or authorized $2 million worth of grant money to be disseminated to different airports to put in infrastructure for the charging capabilities of these airplanes. We submitted an application for that grant, and we've got several letters of support from it, and we feel very comfortable in our plan, in the application, in our conversations, our not official conversations, but the conversations we've had with people. We think we're in a good position to get some of that money to put in that charger. We do have phase 3 power at the airport, which is what they need. We have it near USU's main office. We would have to burrow or cut through, however you do that, through the parking lot and get it across the fence. And so those are the plans that we have in place. We're just waiting to hear. December 1st, we'll know. They have the applications. They're going to be reviewed independently by the committee, and then they'll get together after Thanksgiving, talk about the applications, and then by December 1, they should notify or grant those who got the money. And so then it'll be a couple weeks of paperwork and whatever they do with shuffling the money around, and then we can start using it and get that plan going. So we're hopeful that as our ALP has now been approved and we have other plans for growth and progress, that this can be part of that, that if someone needs to fly to Salt Lake or go from Salt Lake, they can just jump on the taxi eventually, and now you're at Salt Lake International in 35 minutes instead of driving, parking your car. So that's our report for the
Does that help the university, Baron? Does that do anything for the university program at all?
This right here? Yeah, the relationship's what's most important. You know, this is a little bit beyond the scope of what we in the flight program are teaching flying. Engineering is very interested in that, but it does bring visibility to the airport. So indirectly, 100%. But it's more with engineering and research side. You know, what we're teaching is really the small unmanned systems at this time. So that's just, we just don't have the funding or grants to bridge the gap.
it's another opportunity for pilots to work.
Absolutely.
You know,
and that's what I'm saying. So those opportunities will be there, but as a training program, that's
Right.
not
Mhm.
going to benefit us. But there's
Right.
opportunities once it's huge.
Opportunity for networking and pilot advancement, yeah, for sure.
So, John, once upon a time, didn't EP Systems come to us and want to put in a battery bank and give us an electric truck?
That was in connection with Diamond Aircraft and the electrification of two of the DA-40s, I believe. And the relationship between Diamond and EP Systems is faded. And so, yes, they did come. And that was, initially, that was part of the application that was made for the electric vehicle that we received funding for, which included a large vehicle charger, which was going to be adequate for those Diamond aircraft. We still have the charger, and if we're successful on this grant application for the electrification, the vehicle charger that we have will end up being an appendage to that. But currently, USU, EPS, Diamond are not actively pursuing electrification. I believe that's correct. Is that right?
It's been delayed, yeah.
Okay.
Right
I
now,
was just trying to, like, it was in my head from before.
yeah, they're still on the airport. It's just been very, very slow.
And logistically, if we get this grant and we electrify and there's a taxi service, I assume they work out where the airplane lives and all that.
Yeah, we have tentatively planned, and because they wanted a plan for the application, we've tentatively planned to put it just on the air side of the fence near the historic tower, somewhere in that location. That is pretty close to phase 3 power. And then, as John mentioned, we would then take the charger that we already have possession of from the grant, place it on the parking side, connect it to the same transformer, and then people could charge from their vehicles.
For a cost, I assume.
Credit card reader.
What other questions? We good? Okay.
Brett, to your question, when Beta showed up before the demonstration flight, they'd been in last October, and they met with some folks. There were 4 individuals from the university that were also present for that site visit and conversation. A couple of them, Pee-wee, and I can't remember the other instructor, but they were just as interested to learn where there might be opportunities for the university to have a different kind of curriculum track towards teaching the mechanics of, although I feel like that's not the right word, we're dealing with electrical systems, the electrical kind of nature of these aircraft and how they differ from.
Randy Chesley, our lead maintenance individual.
Thank you. And they had
That's probably the growth area is the maintenance and design of that.
and then there were a couple of individuals from administration that would be understandably concerned with the budgetary and structure elements if they had to build out such programs, and they seemed pretty energized by the conclusion of the meeting, so seemed like it was very favorable.
Thank you.
Other questions or comments? Okay, let's slip back to 2B, hangar site requests. We have multiple requests. Craig, are you prepared to speak to your request?
Sure, whatever you want me to do.
Come forward and tell us. And Craig's request is for sites representing 4 different entities on Kilo, I believe.
Yeah, it used to be India.
That's right, but FAA won't let us use India. It's too much like a 1.
Yeah, we don't want that. So a few years ago, worked with Judd, who I'm not sure, who are you with now? Lochner. Okay.
Same people, different name.
So we worked together to design this and came up with a plan for some hangars. We made a proposal to the airport to actually go in and do kind of a public-private partnership on building that out, and it just didn't work out. So at the time, I guess the suggestion was to make an application and put some deposits down for some hangars. So we did. We have 4 different entities, and so we made an application for 4 different hangars at the time. 2023, does that sound right? Than that, but anyway, and so now I understand there's funding for the development of that, and so I've reached out and made an application for 4 different hangars. Let's see which ones they are. I-2, which ones are they?
Yeah, this
can't-
one, yeah, it's I-2,
I-2.
5, 7, and if this one is.
So I-2, I-5, I-7, 11, and those 4.
Yeah.
In terms of location for orientation, it would be just west of the existing gate.
Right.
The space is parallel to the entrance road.
And they fall on the same, basically the same design and everything that what Judd and his team had designed a few years ago. That's part of the airport plan.
The airport plan, I think, shows those as individual buildings, but in your narrative, you indicated you're willing to develop in connection with our request for 0 lot lines.
Yeah, so there's 2 of them that are next to each other that show that they have a space. That's I-2 and I-4, and be happy to build both of those together and do a 0 lot line on those. The other 2, just because of the distance, we'd be happy to try to collapse those 2 together if we can. They are different depths, so it would be kind of dependent upon that. But our hangars that we have in other locations, for example, one in St. George, I measured, and they're 5 feet apart from one to the other, so they're pretty close to a 0 lot line. We still did have to put firewalls in on those when we developed those. Happy to do that, but obviously I understand the need to and the desire to maximize the space, and certainly that's what we want to do that. So be happy to work with the airport to figure out if we can connect them as part of the construction, or if we just have the minimum setbacks for the fire code within that.
So where do these requests, I mean, again, we have a waiting list, we have requests. How are these requests? Are they the top ones on the list?
That's right. Yeah, so we actually started the waiting list. We were the first 4 applications on the waiting list, is what they were. We did them with Jason Ryrie a few years ago, and that were the first 4. That's what we just figured we needed, and that was also in line with what we were trying to get when we worked with the airport to develop all this in the first place.
And, I mean, can I just ask a question of Judd? So is this appropriate with the master plan that we've just adopted?
Absolutely. This area is set aside for the corporate type hangars. The master plan shows individual buildings, but again, that plan is a guide, not a blueprint. So the guide is saying, this is the location for larger hangars. This is the approximate size space available within a particular area. Doesn't necessarily matter if it's 2 100 by 100 buildings with 20-foot separation. That could just as easily be a 220-foot building, just as an example. So it doesn't.
Okay, thank you.
And from our perspective, we obviously recognize the value of real estate there, and so we would like to obviously make them as large as we can and minimize the distance between them, or even bring them both together if we can.
Craig, what's your timing?
So we would start building them as soon as we could. I believe that I know in talking to Bob that it looked like possibly the construction would start in the spring. And so for us, I mean, we'd be happy to work with Lochner and Judd, and we'd like to start as soon as feasibly possible on building those for sure.
Judd, is that feasible to start construction of a hangar before the taxi lane is in?
It would be feasible. Our recommendation would be that the airport-funded construction always takes priority, because any private development is still happening on airport land. You are entering a contract with a contractor to build a taxi lane. They will, obviously, the taxi lane may be this wide, but obviously trucks, grading, whatnot extends out, including underneath the footprint of future buildings. So yes, it is possible for coordinated construction. Our recommendation would be for you to prioritize the funding and the construction you are paying for before the private, no offense.
Yeah. No, I think it's fine. We're just happy to do it.
It's right there.
Yeah, here you go.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it is theoretically possible to have coordinated construction happening. You would want that coordination to begin as soon as possible, but definitely protect your construction first.
You were to say hypothetically, we go that route, which you're recommending. What would Craig's realistic constructability timeframe start? What would you anticipate?
It could, like I said, it very well could be corresponding at the same time, because recognize that their construction is not going to be directly against your construction. A taxi lane will be this wide, and then there is space, that's the driveway.
The apron, yeah.
And then the hangar is located over in this direction. So a lot of times when dealing with the coordination, it's haul routes, it's construction area safety, drainage, because drainage may be being developed off of the taxi lane, and for a period of time, any runoff would go directly onto where their foundation might be going. Obviously not in the long run, but during that construction, things are not at their complete pitch yet. So like I said, it definitely can be corresponded. Expected construction springtime, and you know what that means here. It could be beginning of March, it could be June, depending on the snowfall. I would anticipate construction starting, we'll kind of get a better on this.
Like you said, it depends when we're thawed out and the ground's not complete muck, but I was gonna say, hoping to go out to bid in December when contractors wanna fill up their schedule for summer. So we'd be likely to get the most competitive bids at that time. And then have the contract ready to go and start as soon as possible in the spring. So I would anticipate anywhere from March to April starting, and then being paved out by, if we started in March, be paved out by 45. So, yeah, depending on when we start, I'd say we'd be paved by June conservatively. So they could be coordinating.
And we'd be happy anytime in that 45-day period, because I think at one point in time, we talked that there was going to need to be a kind of a cut, probably for some of the ground to be able to backfill for some of the the base, and then that's kind of a low spot. So probably where those hangar spots would go, there'd probably need be a
Fair amount of underground you guys will have to do.
yeah, and there's underground, and then that would also be a place for fill that's be X'd out there that could be placed on those spots as well. Yeah. So, but yeah, for us, I mean, as long as we had just a general idea of what it would be, certainly we recognize. And the nice thing is with that apron, we could start construction once it maybe a certain point was reached, where maybe before it was paved and the majority of the construction was done, and whatever it is, we're happy to work with. These guys have been wonderful to work with, by the way, and so is John as well. So, yeah. Okay.
One caveat consideration is the item for discussion later, and that is a improvement cost recovery program that exists in other airports in the state, and we're looking at that, and we'll be discussing it here.
Okay.
So any approval that we give you today would be subject to the final determination on that proposal.
Right. Now I'm familiar with those. We had that in St. George when we built those hangars as well, so had the same thing. So yeah, obviously we're fine with that, and certainly we want, our goal is we're fans of well-run and great airports, and we see the direction that what's happening here, and so we're certainly a big fan of that and want to just participate in any way we can to be able to make this, it really help kind of the whole aviation community. So happy to do that.
Is your anticipation to do them all at the same time, Craig, or do one?
Yeah, we'd probably, I mean, just we've got aircraft to fill them, so we'd like to get going on them. Obviously, we would stage them, and so we'd have our construction crews who's built multiple come in, do probably do all the foundations, the underground. It just makes sense to probably just do them all. We would for economies of scale, we'd like to just put do all the order of all the buildings at the same time, and we've already got our processes that we've done with that, so it should be run fairly efficiently to be able to get done, and we can get them done pretty close from start to finish.
Perfect.
Yeah.
And your land lease would begin upon approval.
Yeah, that's great. We're happy to do that. And then, as I understand it, we'd also we're happy to pay for the land lease, similar to what we've done where I think my current land lease is just for the space in which my hangar is on. But what we've seen on our other locations is we actually pay for the entire site. I think that makes sense from an airport to be able to increase the revenue and to be able to, I mean, I'm happy to pay for the part that I'm actually using, just in addition to just the place where the building is. I think it makes a lot of sense to be able to increase the revenue for the airport as well.
Okay, we'll let you work with Bob at the appropriate time when they're putting together the lease of what land you want for your use.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, happy to do that.
Parking that's going to be yours, then that certainly would be appropriate.
Okay,
Did
perfect.
Jed have another comment?
I did have one additional, so with the coordination, it's something Craig has dealt with anywhere he's built, but that area has been cleared environmentally associated with other projects. However, when an individual building gets selected for construction, prior to construction, it has to have airspace approval specific to that individual building. Now, we know based off of the airport master plan, those large buildings can go in that spot and they will be approved, but that doesn't mean the airspace approval doesn't have to happen. And that's about a 90-day, FAA has up to 90 days for airspace approval. Right now, because of the federal government, they are actually not accepting any applications for airspace approval in any airport in the country. They've been turning around 45 days, 50 days, 60 days before the shutdown, but I can only assume it will be at least 90 days. So when an approval for any building on the airport gets approved, getting that airspace going as soon as possible, and that can't even happen until the government opens back up.
Good.
That will be a component of getting the approval from
Yeah.
the federal side for airspace.
We were about 60 days on our other ones, I think. So, and as we looked into that, they suggested we make the application as soon as we get approval, we make the application, because then it fits in the queue. So then,
Yeah, right now.
we're assuming the government will open back up at some point in time, and when they do, at least.
Back up, they will accept it, but we can't even submit an
Okay.
application onto the Adobe AAA website right now.
So you can, so maybe we get them prepped and then,
Wrapped and ready to go, but they just.
I believe some description of the property, the corners, elevation, and those kinds of things go on that 7460 form, correct?
With that one, it's not of the lot itself, it is the corners of the physical building itself. So when we've talked about, is it 100 feet wide, is it 200 feet wide, is it 210? Those four corners and the maximum height of that building are what will go into that 7460. What we've seen so far is, hey, we won't accept anything right now.
And incidentally, Logan City won't consider a building permit request without a 7460 in hand.
so as far as the design, I think we've obviously have, kind of an issue with the fire and probably have to work with the fire marshal. So on that, happy to work with Bob and Judd and whoever to get those designs so we can get those building corners, figured out, and happy to work with the building department as well,
Okay,
if we need.
good that you'll be happy because you need to.
Yeah. Might as well be happy about the things we have to do in life, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
Other questions of Craig? Is there a motion that we approve his request subject to the outcome of our consideration of the cost recovery proposal?
I wonder if we wouldn't be better to make sure that he knows what the cost recovery cost is going to be before we approve it, because that may influence his willingness to proceed timely, but I think that's the only issue.
Possibly, could you approve it with the condition and that I could accept it or reject it? Once that's approved?
I think we best talk about the cost first,
Okay.
so you know what you're
Okay.
looking at. It's going to be substantial, Craig.
All aviation is substantial cost.
Agreed.
So,
But it's actually, we can make that decision fairly quick for the next meeting, and so that, I don't know that it'll hold you up a whole lot.
Okay.
I'm dealing with the FAA right now in another building I'm building, and they're not taking any of those applications, but,
maybe we could, if we have some preliminary approval, then at least we would be able to work on the design of kind of the location so we can get the building corners and the elevations.
I'm not suggesting that we not do that in this meeting. I think we could approve you subject to that, but I think it would be best to have that discussion in this meeting. But then after that, I think we could entertain again approving it subject to that being finalized.
Sure, happy to do that.
I do think it's important that you get your application into the feds and get in the queue as soon as we can get you in there.
Okay, perfect.
So we would come back to that later in this meeting is what I would suggest.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions for me?
Great.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. We'll revisit your request. Blake, Kyle, who's up? This is for four hangars in two buildings on taxiway Lima, and will include the construction of the taxi lane in between those hangars.
Correct.
Did I summarize that accurately?
Yes.
Okay. Tell us what you would like to do.
Kyle Fisher. Yeah. So we'd just like to get approved to, I guess, start the process, getting all the engineering, working with FAA to make sure everything's approved in the airport master plan in accordance with that, just so we can really start all the paperwork and get ready to start digging whenever we can, assuming weather and, like we talked about just earlier, the mud and everything out there, it takes a long time to dry out.
May I ask the same question I did earlier? How does this request, how is it on the waiting list?
Yes, we have all 4 of our requests are on the waiting list.
Are they kind of the next ones up after the 4 that Craig mentioned?
They vary. There's some, like number 6, 12. it kind of varies throughout.
So how do we handle that? Again, I thought we were gonna kind of go down, I mean, is it, obviously they're ready to do a project, so.
All of the people on the list received the same email asking them if they were prepared to move ahead to submit their request for consideration in this meeting.
Perfect.
So everyone was notified. Only these two entities responded.
That's what I needed to know, thank you.
The notification was, it was Thursday? It was less than a week ago, I believe. Is that correct?
It was about at least 2 weeks ago. Did I miss anything? I sent everyone on the list. I said your email.
So you're in essence saying that we're gonna get leapfrog.
I didn't say that. I said that, John said he sent the email out to everyone on the list.
I mean, I've been to that area.
Okay, so that's my concern, I guess, I mean,
You got a missed call from us.
is, are we proceeding appropriately with the waiting list? We instituted that for fairness. Again,
I would absolutely say that it's
Well.
not been. If that's the case,
Well.
if this leapfrogs ahead, because I've been in contact with 6 other people. Nobody knew about it.
Where are you on the list, Andy?
I'm like 15. I think Corey's.
13 or 14.
And I'm not trying to be defensive here, but I'm just saying, I don't like being bypassed.
so
I mean,
maybe,
I've been in contact with all these people and.
so maybe we need to give it some additional time if people feel like they didn't get messages, or, again, do we have a protocol written down as far as how notification is, how long people are notified? I mean, that may have been followed, I mean.
We need to tighten that up, Mayor. Those processes, procedures, I hear Andy's frustration. I'm sensitive to that. We just need to make sure we've got a very clear process. There are different size hangars. You're gonna have that issue.
Right.
And we also, in fairness to you, just like we did with Mr. Adams, there are going to be some additional fees. We want to make sure you understand what they are. And airport's a critical piece, and we're running out of, we will no longer have FAA funding for the taxi lanes.
Yeah.
That's a new world for us to go in. So we've got to figure it out. In particular to the area you guys are looking at, if you say, hey, we just want to do those 2 buildings, so we'll deal with the taxi lane cost up to that point, that puts the burden on the airport. We're not going to do just a short taxi lane. We need to do the whole thing. So we've got to figure out how are we going to get that funding. And we just need to talk through those costs and have you guys be very well aware of what we're thinking, what we're looking at, just like Mr. Adams, so that we're all on the same page. We're not hiding anything. We can all work together and make the airport run the very best it can and accommodate aviation and make sure we can get the hangars that are being requested.
So our proposal too is bringing the infrastructure and paying for the taxi lane still. We submitted 4 separate applications of people that are on the list, and the idea is really just to lessen that burden. But as far as I understand, the airport wouldn't be, this isn't an FAA funded, or it would just be funded by the.
Would you fund the whole taxi lane?
No, but I mean, to that point though, what we could do is, we'd be happy to coordinate with
You're heading down exactly the discussions and conversations.
And I guess what I'm trying to say is it doesn't influence moving forward. Basically, if Corey and Andy wanted to join that party, it just lessens the burden of infrastructure on everybody.
Right.
And so we're happy to coordinate, but the issue that comes into play is you're not gonna have 9 large corporate hangars or 10 or 12 or 14 that are gonna be demanded or built at once. And so I think that's the hurdle that we need to overcome. And so, yeah, we'll gather as many people to join as possible to lessen that burden. And maybe we can figure something out there, but you're right. If you want the taxiway built out, yeah.
To Alex's point, only large hangars can be built on this taxi lane. The bottom 8 on the list are talking 50 by 50. They wouldn't be given permission to build on that taxi lane.
And I would I would ask too is, could we do a temporary turnout or access in the meantime? Would that entail more hangars? Because look, I don't know when that day that more corporate hangars will be in demand.
What do you mean, turnout?
I'm just saying, if we could complete that portion of the runway, we'd basically just stub and prep for the next, but then we just create an access road on the backside, or
You mean for
fire or whatever.
vehicles or whatever?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're gonna have to have some kind of vehicle access, because you won't be able to access from the air side.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, what's a good way to proceed? Do we ask Bob to sort of host a meeting at the airport among all interested parties and, work on things a little more? I mean, maybe folks can share the cost and the taxiway can get built. I mean,
Well, there are no other requests for this size hangar.
The other option is, I think that we could get at least these four, and probably Corey and Andy, if they wanted to join that as well, to say, look, we'll bear the burden of extending that taxiway, but we just want to be compensated down the road to connect, just like the airport's getting compensated per foot or whatever that new proposal is that I see on there. I think that's great as long as there could be an agreement. It's just fronting that cost without any promise of future getting paid back. It's hard to do. So, but if we're open to solutions and we're anxious to move forward, we're just gonna keep showing up every meeting until we figure this out. So,
I mean, what size of hangar are you looking for?
Oh, probably like a 60 by 60 or 60 by 80.
Corey, what about you? Same?
they don't fit in them. They don't fit in this master plan though on that runway. And
I mean, would you
that's the
guys
issue.
be interested in, as long as it's 100-foot deep and then 50-foot wide, and you guys split one?
We'd love to do whatever we gotta do.
Just get in?
That way we could,
Yeah.
we could meet the master plan on paper, but you're gonna have smaller aircraft in those hangars, but we could keep the building depth and size, so your master plan looks the same, taxiway's the same size, but you're gonna have to condo those hangars separately to accommodate the market. And so I think that was our actually initial proposal, and the concern was that it didn't meet the master plan. So we're saying, hey, we're meeting the master plan, but we gotta figure out a solution and move forward if we can.
Yeah, it sounds like we need a better process for noticing and also a mechanism for collaboration and potentially joint application.
Sure.
I think what I would propose is, Bob, we need to go through the list. I'm just looking at that list real quick. Stephen Anderson's still on there, and he's passed away. I don't know what happens when, to your point, we've got a lot of unknowns. How does that work? And we probably ought to clean up that list, get with all the interested parties, find out. And I know you sent that email out, but we ought to do that one more run, and I'm happy to help you with that process, and we sit down with the owners. Because what I'd like to do, instead of just doing one taxi lane that takes care of all the big airplanes, I really want to make sure a 60 by 60, whatever, those things, we've got some pathway forward for them as well. And
We had a proposal from Andy, and that they would extend the taxiway on Delta for those 50 by 50 and 60 by 60s, and they would fund the taxi lane and be reimbursed for their investment. And so I was a little surprised at your reaction in this meeting, thinking that you had been leapfrogged because you'd never talked to anybody about building over on Lima.
I'm just saying, the way I took it, and tell me if I took it wrong, was that it was basically moving people ahead if they hadn't responded to the email. Did I take that wrong? If you hadn't made it, Chris, did I misunderstand that?
I think, Andy, what you're saying is, I could see how you could interpret that. I think the comment from Bob was more, I've sent it out, they didn't respond, so I don't think they're interested.
Okay. Well, my apologies if I misunderstood it wrong.
Yeah, I think that, Bob, correct me if I'm wrong.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, I was halfway taking notes here, but,
That's
no,
okay.
the intent, I knew that Andy and Corey wanted to develop Delta, and so, We've talked informally about that.
Okay.
And I thought when they didn't respond, they weren't ready to move forward or go ever, but it doesn't mean we've leapfrogged them. It means that they weren't, in my opinion, they weren't ready to officially respond to the email. So I didn't feel like we were leapfrogging them. I felt like they were getting their ducks in a row, then they would respond and have their day in at the podium. They weren't ready, in my opinion,
Sure.
because they didn't
I
respond.
could
That's
see.
all that happened here.
I mean, I'll be flat out honest. Do you want me to come to the mic or?
Yes. Jimmy says, yes, please.
The audience cannot hear, the audience that's online can't hear comments from you.
All I'm trying to
state his name too.
Andy Checketts. All I'm trying to state, I support these guys. I want you to understand that. I've been in simple process. We're polluting the process and make it difficult to get something approved. So I can call Brigham City. I've been in contact with them multiple times. The way it works over there is they say, hey, we have this ground available. We will write a construction agreement. You're responsible for the taxiway and the infrastructure in front of your hangar with the ability for somebody else to attach for future. And it's that simple. You come in, you get a process, you show them your plans, and you get to build a hangar. I called them, and in 3 days, I've got that answer versus multiple meetings here. I don't know why it's so hard. And I'm not trying to be a jerk. I just don't understand why we're making the process so hard. And so let's say these guys want to build commercial or larger airplane. Let's build it. Let's say, hey, we've got the demand. Let's get the tax money. Let's get a free taxiway. I mean, at the end of the day, if you're getting 400 feet worth of taxiway for free, is that easier than going and getting grants? I mean, I'm just stating the fact, and tell me if I'm wrong, but that seems easier to me.
We agree with what you're saying.
And so let's get in these guys' pocket and let's take their money.
I agree.
And let's get in Craig's
But he's
pocket
even
and
happy
let's
to
take,
do
I
it.
mean, especially Craig. We really need to take Craig's money, right? And so let's make them put the taxiway in, sewer, water, power, and it should be that simple.
Andy, the issue has been that before we have had a taxi lane that's been built by the government. And so we're transitioning from a situation where you didn't have to pay for the taxi lane or taxiway. You just had to build your hangar on an existing. So that's the delay that we're having, and that's the next item on the agenda, is to talk through that. But what you're saying is exactly what we're trying to do, is make it as simple as you described. But the new element to construction at our airport has to recognize a cost for the taxi lane.
I appreciate that.
That's the only thing that.
I understand that, but tell me, is Brigham City smarter than us?
They're ahead of us.
I mean, I'm just stating the fact, like, why does it have to be so difficult?
But I don't know whether they have ever had FAA money to build taxis.
They have.
They have?
It's just the section you choose to do.
This is what we do in development in every city municipality, is we get to go bring all the roads and water and pay for that, and we provide homes or commercial buildings, and then the city takes over that infrastructure. But it really is a consistent process and I think that's what the frustration is.
And I'm not trying to be defiant or combative. I'm just saying, why are we making the process hard?
We're trying to make the process simpler by coming up with a standard so that everyone pays for their taxiway or their taxi lane, and at the same time, we're generating enough money so that we can do it efficiently rather than 50 feet at a time.
And I can appreciate that.
That's the purpose of this meeting. Once this is resolved, we should be as easy as you've described Brigham City. That's our goal.
And so what becomes the correct distance then? Like, what are we opposed to? Are we opposed to 400 feet at a time? Are we opposed to 100 feet at a time? I'm just trying to set a parameter.
About that in
Yeah.
just a minute.
I mean, I'd imagine,
We're saying, hey, if they're going to mobilize, and this is where we need JUB to advise us and help us to know, it doesn't make a ton of sense to do a little bit at a time. And then we need to figure out if the county has the money and the city has the money and appetite to say, well, let's finish the rest of that up. We're navigating through some other issues that.
so I guess we love donations in our world, right? We love free. If you've got private individuals coming to this government entity and saying, we want to give this to you,
As long as it's built to standards, so it's acceptable.
which it would be, because they're gonna come in and it's gonna be done by a civil engineering group, and they're gonna build it, you know, they're gonna say, hey, what's the specification? We need to, you know, this taxiway is gonna have, you know, heavy aircraft on it, you know, whatever. It's gonna be done correctly for sure. I'm just saying, you've got groups of people that are willing to give something for free. Obviously, they want something in return.
And to your point, I appreciate what you're saying, and I think we're all on the same. We've just had a lot of different things come up. The developers say, hey, I want to develop 16. You've got Forge saying, I want to do 16 hangars all at the same time. We've got individuals saying, I want to build my own hangar. I don't need someone to build for me. Then I have other people saying, I just need a hangar quick. And then with the FAA funding drying up, we've got a lot of decisions, Andy. We just want to make sure we're doing it right. We're not trying to frustrate anyone. I sense your frustration, and I appreciate it. And yet we've got a chance to do it right, so we're not constantly changing. We just want to make the right decisions. And so the goal is, before you leave, I'm going to get Craig's money, and who else's money was I supposed to get?
These two guys.
Oh,
I mean,
that's
get
right.
in there.
Thank you.
I mean, I'm just saying, get in their pocket.
We
You
wanna
know,
be-
like, I don't understand.
teaming with them. We are not foolish. We do not want to overlook that. We want them at Logan. We want them at LGU. We just want to do it right.
And
So,
I'm sorry to chime in here, guys, but we're happy to coordinate and sit down with the board or members of the board. Like, if that will help, we'll bring code and process and like we can look at other airports, what they do. We'll bring all that to the table. We just want to roll forward because we're on month 3 now and there's still no process. And I know it sounds like I read through the media packet. Looks like there's some proposals, but I don't know if those apply to private funding either or just FAA, but I guess we'll dive into that. But just that door is open. Please, like, I think all of us are on the same page and team. We're happy to coordinate and collaborate with you, so.
can't disagree with you.
Thanks for your time, guys.
You guys need anything else?
Any further questions about Lima at this point? Okay, thanks. It seems appropriate that we talk about this cost recovery proposal. We'll put it up on the board.
Working on it.
Some of you will have seen this, others they will not have seen it. There are several airports. Craig indicated that St. George does something similar, but let me read the proposal. Are we fine with that, Janine?
Yep, it's coming.
Logan-Cache Airport has a limited resource and space available to build hangars on existing taxi lanes, limited to a portion of Echo and next year Kilo. The FAA is no longer providing grants for taxi lanes, therefore they must be funded locally. There is a waiting list for approximately 18 hangar sites for which deposits have been taken. It is proposed that in order to perpetuate the development of future taxi lanes, that an impact fee be instituted on all hangars built on existing taxi lanes. For example, Group 1 taxi lane, Echo, each hangar would pay the airport a $1,000 cost recovery fee. For a Group 2 taxi, such as Kilo, 2,000 feet per frontage foot of hangar would be paid. Further, hangars with access to sewer and water will pay an additional $2,000 fee. Entities constructing hangars without existing taxi lanes will be exempt from the cost recovery charge, but will need to construct the taxi lane in front of their hangar. That's similar to what Andy was describing, connecting to an existing taxi lane. The new taxi lane will need to be constructed to FAA specifications per the current airport layout plan. Sites with deposits will have first priority for a designated period, at which time the lease will need to be initiated and construction begun within 1 year.
Let me just make a couple of comments. We're not going to use the word impact fee. The term impact fee has some defined rules with respect to subdivisions and things, and it just will cloud up what we're trying to do. What our goal here is to have the individuals who use the hangar pay a sufficient amount to reimburse either the cost of the existing taxi lane or to install a taxi lane. We estimated this, and that's where the numbers come from. I think you need to understand that all we're talking about is a recovery of cost. We're not trying to make money building taxi lanes, but we are trying to recover the cost of the taxi lanes. So when we have an existing taxi lane, that would be the goal, to recover the cost of that, and then apply that to the building of new taxi lanes. And then when those hangars go on those new taxi lanes, we recover it. So essentially, we're rolling the money to create a fund to build new taxi lanes or taxiways. The project that was just up is building a taxi lane, so they come under that clause that describes that. They're going to build the taxi lane that's in front of them, so they don't come into this fee at all. But what we're probably going to want them to do is we're going to want them to give us a price per foot to make the taxi lane longer, and then we're talking about funding that from airport funds so that they could extend the line further. Again, doing what's economic rather than having slices of each taxi lane built. So that's what our thought is here. It's hard to just say frontage foot because some of the taxi lanes will have hangars on both sides. Some will only have hangars on one side given the configuration. So I think we probably need to build in a system that takes that into account by just taking a look at the physical situation we're in, Andy, on each one and making a computation of what it's going to cost and then putting that in. Like I say, these are estimates and they may be high or they may be low depending on what's happening. I mean, obviously the most efficient situation is hangars on both sides on a straight taxi lane, but when it bends or anything, you have other issues.
So this proposal for existing taxi lanes that were partially paid for by the FAA, does that conflict at all with FAA funding?
No, does not appear to.
Okay.
As long as the money taken from them, that is reinvested in airport capital improvements.
Okay. And is there any, I know that, you know, this is supposed to create money for us to build further taxi lanes. But what about the repair and maintenance of those taxi lanes that have been built by a developer or built by us? How do we handle that? Is that included in their site rent? How have we computed that in the past?
Their site rent would be used as presently is the case,
Okay, and that's been adequate to maintain?
yes.
I kind of understand what we're doing, Jeannie. We're trying to roll the money to keep the taxi lanes ahead, and I think that's what makes sense long-term for the development of the airport.
Okay.
How did we come up with the estimates?
We worked with Lochner on cost, and they based on their experience at other airports and the engineering estimate for specifically for what Kilo was going to cost. And that $2,000 per running foot for the taxi lane does not include any undergrounds. And so that has to get factored in with open spaces and whether it's a single side or both sides.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was gonna be another question, is when there are two, does the cost split, or do we figure that out at the time?
Judd, you were gonna say something.
Yeah, I was gonna say, those numbers are reflecting the cost of, those numbers are reflecting the cost of the construction. But yeah, for splitting it both sides, that's, all we can basically say is here's what it's costing to build taxi lanes in today's world.
Okay.
And that's roughly what those, obviously it may be plus or minus dollars.
Thanks.
How we, in answer to your question, we probably have to come up with a way that's fair and a person doesn't get punished because they happen to be building on a site that is single loaded and he doesn't have a hangar on the other side of him. On the other, facing him.
So a question kind of along with that question is, do we charge the same fee for someone that's taking something existing versus building something new? Because the existing obviously isn't of the same quality as the existing.
Again, I think that what we should do as best we can is determine what our actual costs are and try and defray our actual cost rather than come up with too much of an arbitrary number. But the idea is we're going to be able to do this real simply with Kilo because it's new construction, it's double loaded, and it's going right straight. But when you look at some of these others, Lima, for example, it bends.
It's the other way around, but yes.
Okay, it's the other way around. Okay.
He's still learning the alphabet.
Yeah, I am still learning my alphabet. But the idea, Keegan, I think, would be to look at each one individually as to what our costs are there and just put numbers on it. But the numbers would always come back to what the cost actually is.
Right, and the proponent would know that before they get into it. I guess we would provide those estimates prior.
So that's why I suggested Mr. Adams listen to this before we get too far, because if he knows we're gonna be fair about what it costs, and we may very well use the contractor that he's chosen to do additional space on the length. So it should all pan out.
Okay, another question is, do we want to include some kind of provision of how often these numbers will be reassessed, or does?
Well, I think we do it based upon a bid.
Okay, every single.
Only it's good for as long as the bid is good.
So this, we just need to specify we're treating it as a guideline, not an exact amount.
I think what we would do, correct me if I'm wrong, John, is we would take the bid amount, and it would last as long as the bid was good for, and if we build it, it would then be the numbers.
Okay.
I
So it
think-
could take over a year in some cases, right?
Right, and we're guessing what the contract is going to be, and sometimes there's gonna be an extra, but it's gonna be refined as to what the number is, and then someone who wants to build, help me with the alphabet, John, on L, what is yours, is it?
It's Lima, yeah.
It's Lima? On Lima, they're going to give us a,
This guy really wants to say something.
Come up to the mic.
And George, I'm so sorry to interrupt you. I don't want to head too far down that. I don't want to head too far down that path of getting this number, because Lima's cost is going to be substantially different depending on engineering and everything else. And then I'm just going to be frank with you. I don't trust that the county or this entity, whether
The airport authority.
the airport authority is going to get this done in an efficient manner. My concern is that you guys are going to get a cost and you're going to go off these bids, and then all of a sudden you're going to have to submit RFPs, and then we're going to be 2 years and Andy's going to be in Brigham City. So
That's sort of what I was getting at, is if each time it's treated as its own unique snowflake, this is gonna, I mean, we're already slow to move, and
I'm not talking about the county building the.
Okay.
Getting the estimates, right?
Well, you're coming to us and saying you're gonna build it.
yeah,
So what we're gonna say is, that's terrific, what are your costs? You're gonna say it's so much a foot, and then we're gonna say to you, build another 300 feet.
okay,
At your cost.
Yeah.
Build another 300 feet. So that then becomes the number that we use. I don't want to displace the private parties from building the taxiways, because you can do it better than we can.
yeah, okay. I appreciate that, because that's true. We can do, we can do it cheaper and more efficiently.
And the government?
Yeah.
But Alex, the point is your numbers will define.
Yeah.
What people pay on that taxiway. Now, if someone comes in and says, oh, you're padding it too much, we'll have to take a look at that.
Yeah, we could do 3 bids and do that process too, but.
Yeah, see, that's the kind of stuff I'd like to include is, is there a comparison? Is there?
Right.
Because if we're just relying on the person whose primary interest is to get the best deal, just trust us, I think. Not that people aren't trustworthy here, but I think that's setting ourselves up for something we don't want to do.
I think that's what we do, Keegan, but essentially when we look at that defines a price that we know we've got the road built for, and frankly, we'll probably bring the contract for the taxiway in here and have a public hearing. Anybody disagree that this is the fair value for the taxiway?
And I'd just comment 2 things. One is every single individual taxiway is going to be substantially different. I shouldn't say substantially, but you don't know what you're going to run into. Will you run into groundwater over here, whatever else? There's mitigation there. So there's that. And then the way that we're coordinating this is we actually are going to do the horizontal development separately, and Kyle is handling the vertical development. And so we'll just be over the taxiway and the infrastructure, and we'll have an exact price of that. And then we just distribute it evenly among those hangar owners and the number of hangars on that runway. So we can do this, George. I think I'm more clear on what you're saying.
Okay, Greg?
Since I already went through the process of all this a couple of years ago, I thought maybe I'd just add some clarification. So when we worked with Armstrong at the time, Lochner now, we wanted to figure out, because originally our proposal was we were going to go in and we were going to provide all the infrastructure for the airport, if you remember. So we actually just had 3 bids, right? And I think it's really not that complicated. Pretty much it's paved in gold, right? Because the asphalt is it has to have a different quality, right? So there's only certain people, but you get the price for what it takes to do the excavation because we're only talking about really the taxi lane, right? And so we went in and got 3 bids. There was a substantial price difference between the 3. I can't remember which contractor it was that came in less, but there was $100,000 or so $200,000 difference between one of the three, but we're really, it's really just the asphalt piece within it. And so I really think from my perspective, if we just have that general thought, and I think from where I'm at is we were willing to do that the first time, but if there would just be some ability to just maybe true that up if there was, like if it's $2,000, for example, 100 foot wide hanger that I want, it just adds $200,000 more of cost, which I understand is basically trying to recoup that, right? So now what we've done is we've just increased the value of the hangers in Logan and who can participate and who can do that. But you're also defraying the cost and allowing for future growth within that. So my numbers that I had, 2,000 was, and obviously times have changed, but $2,000 a foot, linear foot was high, right? All I would just say is if it came in, there was a bid process, I think it can be handled quick. If it's less, I'd just like to see an adjustment come down off of that.
Yeah, and to that point, Craig, you'll notice in what John put up for discussion is you're either these rates or I would see most people saying, look, I'll get my own costs.
Yeah.
Right, and in fact, I think that if someone wants to build it themselves, that's actually more simple for us because they're taking care of it, they're dealing with all that. I think where it becomes a little more complex is when we're charging someone for an existing and trying to price that out equitably.
And I think, for example, on this, on Kilo, I think it's already designed. It's already been through the master, the process. We already know what has to go there, so it's pretty easy to go in and get 3 bids. And I think on that, I think my opinion is I think that's best operated by the airport, right? But I think if all of a sudden you've got somebody who wants to do a completely different non-funded, and they want to do the entire, taxi lane and do the development with it, I think that makes sense. But I think in this particular one, I think it makes sense to do this one as the airport, where you have different people, and then you could take each one on a case by case basis.
Yeah, it's got a bend in it, and so that there's portions of it that we really won't get anyone buying a front foot on a corner. So, but if we take the total cost of building that and a portion amongst the users of it, then it will be a number we can give you and so on.
Yep.
And essentially what we do is provide an estimate to you, and then we go out and get a bid, and once we got a bid,
it can be adjusted. Yeah. And I see what you're trying to do. You're trying to be able to secure future growth, to be able to continue to expand the airport. And as much as I don't like the idea of a 100-foot wide hangar costing another up to $200,000, I also see the fact that that's the only way for future growth to be able to continue to move forward. And I think the only thing that I would ask is just make sure that's reflected in making sure that the lease is long enough to be able to, with the airport, be able to absorb that impact fee.
Craig, that might be $2,000. It might also be $1,532.
Correct. That's all I'm saying is I agree with that, George, that so if it's like this is just an estimate, this is the pathway we're going to do. But like I say, where I've already gone, and it's been 2 or 3 years, I don't think asphalt prices on some of our projects have gone up that much. But I think I see where the direction where you're going, but I think for this public forum, I think from what I've seen, the costs seem to be less than that. As long as that was be able to be reflected, it could come back down. I think it helps.
For this meeting, yesterday we had a meeting, George says, get ready, they're gonna dispute those amounts, so thank you for doing it.
You're welcome. I did, yeah. That's great. Okay.
Unscripted, you did it.
Craig, before you leave.
Yeah.
With this information, what would you ask us to do regarding your earlier request?
I'd ask you to approve them.
Motion made.
So you approve it?
I'm making a motion to approve that.
Okay, is there?
Subject to your agreeing to the arrangements on the cost of the taxiway, right?
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. We approve Mr. Anderson's request for the buildings on Taxi Lane Kilo. All in favor,
Can I
say.
just have a
Let's have a
discussion point
discussion, yeah.
first? So do we need to formally adopt the taxi lane? I mean, he's verbally agreed to that, and I assume there will be a contract that follows, but I'm wondering if we need to adopt that policy
The motion
first.
was subject to his accepting whatever we come up with.
Okay, even if we don't have that policy in place. Okay, I guess if he's okay with
The,
that.
the benefit that I have is I actually understand what the costs are because I've been through this.
Yeah.
That's,
And
So
purposely, we're not going to call for a motion on that cost recovery proposal because there are a number of unanswered imponderables that we need to consider as a individually and as a group, and that we would formally consider that for approval in the next meeting.
that's what I was gonna ask, is just the time frame of expiration of
Yeah.
this. Is there a statute of limitations on when he can approve that or not? I mean, just so it gives us some urgency to come up with this.
Well, there's significant urgency because we've got a number of people that are wanting to move ahead. And
Right.
we've never had to deal with this before. Usually it's onesie twosie, you know, I want one, and 6 months later, somebody else comes forward, and there's no discussion about who's first.
And also the taxi lane financing has changed, so that's.
Yes.
And just to reiterate, his folks were first in the queue, so that doesn't create any heartburn with leapfrogging anyone?
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm ready.
Further discussion?
Can you restate the motion?
The motion is that it be approved, subject to an additional agreement involving the cost of the taxi lane as determined subsequently. So there's a subsequent condition to the approval.
With the expectation that the proponent would bear the cost.
The proponent is agreeing to bear
Yep.
the cost.
Yep.
Is that consistent with your second?
Yes.
Further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
okay, thank you. One other offer too is Kevin Allen, who's my attorney. I'm sure he'd be happy to help facilitate an agreement. I know you know him well, George. So, thank you.
We should go back and do the Dearns proposal too now. with the same thing.
Alex, how would you like us to respond to your request?
You'd be my hero.
In your case, the one, you're going to build your own, so we don't have that same condition with you, but we would like as a condition that you obtain a separate bid for the taxi lane and give us the opportunity to use that contractor to extend the lane further at the same price that you're given.
Now, again, sorry, so was their position on the waiting list appropriate, or on that particular
On
taxiway?
that large hangar
Okay,
list.
no one else is, because
Right.
Craig was on the large hangar list. So you're also on the large hangar list, you're gonna condominiumize them, but you're still on that. So we're not leapfrogging anyone that's gonna be unhappy on that one. I know Craig was in line first.
Yeah.
It's
And
not clear to me, could you remind me where you said you were on the list?
there's multiple. So I think there's one that's 6 and there's one that's 12.
Okay.
But I would say this, that cost will stay the same. So these 4 hangars, when we'll work together with Bob and the engineers and the board, but let's say there's 14 hangars on there. We'll obtain this bid to complete it. That bid will be divided amongst 14 units and it'll be set. And so if anyone wants to join at any given time, they'll know that fee and they can join at any time the process and build their own hangar, and they'll know exactly where they stand.
Yeah, I just don't want people to feel like we've abandoned our waiting list and, been inappropriate that way. Are people kind of okay with that, given the provisions with financing the taxi lane, sorry.
Do you want to invite people who voiced concerns previously to?
Andy, well, I don't know if you make a motion on us yet, but
Andy checked skin. I'd just like to say, I'm more than happy to see the approval. Can we just take of all groups of the hierarchy here? If we're gonna build the big hangars, you know, Corey and I made a proposal. I mean, at least I'd love to get an approval to move forward to get some exact numbers for the general guys that are flying these smaller planes. Like I say, I've made a point to talk to many of these guys as I'm at the airport. You know, hey, what do we need to do? So I'd like to say approve us as well, so we can get the small GA guys to move forward.
So Andy, with respect to yours, we're going to have to come up with a number on those lanes, and it will be specific to where those units go.
Because we would come in and we'd figure out a price to build the taxiway and everything.
Yeah, same system exactly for you, but these two have responded. Now, if you'll get your responses in,
Okay.
and which taxi lane, we'll try and have an estimate to you before the next meeting as to what that is. If
Or
you're
maybe
going
he
to
should
build
bring
your
us the
own.
estimate.
So what, I guess I need to clarify, when you're saying an estimate, if they're gonna build their own lane,
Then we don't have that problem.
we would be building our own.
Yeah, if you're building your own, then we just need a site,
Perfect.
and you'd be ready to go, just like they're being ready to go.
But wouldn't you want the estimate for extension of that taxi lane?
Same arrangement that we're doing with Alex.
And it would be very
apply
easy to
everyone
say,
that does
yeah, it's very, very simple. I can say, hey, here's our cost for full infrastructure, sewer, water, power, road, or taxiway at this point. This is our per foot. We can, you know, if the airport wants to jump on board, all the better.
So, yeah, my only hesitation here is I'm still not confident everyone was noticed and that everyone
Well,
who
I will,
who is in the queue is here today to speak to that.
That's why I said, I think Bob needs to go through that list and touch base with each one of them.
Right.
And see their real intent.
and Andy's going to come back. We're not gonna approve Andy's deals today.
I know.
And in the interim, Bob is going to notify them what our policy is, and then we'll take them in the order in which they're on the list.
Right.
what I would commit to do is I'll get with Bob and I'll figure out the smaller guys. And we'll figure out a list and I can contact all those guys and say, hey, this is what it's gonna cost for the taxiway in front of your hangar. Are you ready to move forward? And I'll gladly 100% jump in and help with that and say, here's our estimates, here's what it's gonna cost you to move forward. If you wanna move forward, Bob can say, hey, you're there. If not, we're gonna bump you behind until you are.
Yeah, Andy, if they don't wanna move forward, we're gonna take them off the list.
Absolutely. Because it was a non-refundable. I mean, I think I gave $1,000 a couple years ago, year and a half ago. Was it 500? Okay, I couldn't remember. But anyway, I'm glad to help with that.
So the only caveat I would make, and Judd, I'm looking to you, in the master plan, it shows when you come over Kilo where Craig's going, or contemplating going, there are 4 hangar sizes down on that existing taxi lane. You know where I'm referring?
It is currently, I think I understand what we're talking about, it's currently the entrance road, but in actuality, if you continue going straight, after you go through the gate, you go straight and then you end up on taxi lane Echo. There are 4 hangars that are small GA, like 50 by 50, 50 by 40, I can't remember what the examples are in the plan.
Would anything like that work for you? Because the only caveat I would say is, if the urgency is to get you a hangar, that is the quickest place to go. Then we've got to figure out, okay, what is the cost of that taxi lane? And we'll have to work through that, but.
And that's an existing taxi lane.
It's an existing taxi lane, it sounds like regardless whether something is built on existing or future constructed by someone else.
So that could help us
In
expedite.
terms of location, it faces Scott's fuel tank.
Yes.
Okay.
So it'd be on the right hand, after you pull through the drive-through keypad gate, on the right-hand side. Right at the end of the field, basically.
So go out with Bob, and he'll show you where those are and what size, we'll get the master plan and see what size of hangars can go there, and that may be a good option.
Okay, all right, thanks.
These are 50 by 50, Judd, right, when we designed them? I think that's what they are.
We need to get the Dally thing motion still on the table, I think.
Did
Okay.
someone make a motion?
I will move that we approve the, what,
Black River, Black Ridge,
Black,
Yeah, there's two entities, Black River and
Black,
Trident.
with,
Would be the Lima proposal.
with the Lima proposal is that we would move to approve that, subject to a condition subsequent that you itemize, that you put in your own taxiway lane, and that we have the option to extend at the same price that hangar
and all
That-
underground infrastructure.
and underground.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, for discussion, do we feel like we resolved the queue and people feel that it's equitable?
Again, they were 6 and 12, and, I mean, so do we, again, I mean, it could be an advantage if we get the taxi lane extended, then other people could build.
Yeah,
I
but
can
it-
also reach out to any other people that want a bigger hangar and do the same thing that they're doing with the smaller hangars.
I guess my concern is just, is there someone who's not even here that's gonna read this approval later and say, I didn't even see the email, I didn't even know I could have applied, and I'm number 5 on the list. And I have number 5 and 7. Why did that happen?
I think Craig has 5.
But
He
we
had
don't know,
1, 2,
do we
5,
know what
7.
size the hangars are requested on the list?
You know what I'm saying?
Or do we just have a list?
application, I have the size, but I don't have that with me today.
Okay. My anticipation is that they're not large hangars.
So they wouldn't qualify for this anyway. Can anyone validate that?
Well, Bob can, but he doesn't have that information with him.
I know the majority
Motion on the floor, so,
of the wait list people want smaller hangars.
okay.
Yeah, but I don't have the exact numbers with
Do you
me
have
today.
any large hangars that are in the queue before the Black River?
Like a 5 to 7.
Got it
meter.
pulled up, I wrote it down.
Did you?
Okay, could we invite this gentleman to?
Yeah, I've got all the sizes.
Thanks, Kyle.
Yeah, so besides Craig Adams with the like on yours, I think he just has 125 by 75. I'm sure it's spread out through a couple. But then the next one is Bryant White, who's one on my proposed list. And down from there, it's all small. So it's all below that.
So you just gave us 5 and 6, the 2 that you read off? Is that
So
right?
this is actually, let me look.
4 is Craig.
Right.
Yeah,
You
one.
guys said you had 6 and 12, and,
So it is,
so
5 to
you
5
said
and
number
7
5
maybe?
is actually part of your group.
no, actually, I was just kind of guessing off that. Now that I pull it up, we have 10, 11, 17, 18 for the 4. And so there are
So-
2, a Jay Jenkins and a Nick Alley are the only ones that would also want a bigger hangar.
Okay.
So we don't really know on 5, 6, 7, 8, or 9.
Those are all smaller, 50 by 80.
And Nick purchased J1.
So he
Nick's-
might not
I
even
think
want
Nick's
it.
out, so, sorry.
Yeah, well, if you guys want to vote, let's vote, but
What?
Jay Jinks wants to build a larger hangar is what he said.
I wonder if we just need to wait one more
Yeah.
and just carefully go through the list.
Yeah.
Like, they're available, right?
The spaces are available.
They're available.
Mhm.
So, meaning, I've got 4 on Kilo, but I think I'm the only 4 out of 12. I can't
That
remember.
reached out.
Right, so there should be 8 more available.
We've got capacity.
Judd,
If
so-
anyone were to come forward and say, hey, what about me? And there are some larger as well as smaller. I agree with that. That's why I'm comfortable making
Maybe
it.
go ahead, I mean, are there,
Anybody that's not here can be handled with the existing proposed inventory.
okay, so if they're ready to go forward, anybody on the waiting list
They can be
above them could come and do the same thing.
And
Okay,
But
with
we
that, I'm
probably-
okay.
But we probably need to contact them and just make.
Right, and that's what-
say, you need to pay, or you need to play, or,
We will contact them yet again.
yeah, I know.
So So in other words, this one's probably okay. If we stacked like 3 more without doing that, that would be problematic.
We will have the waiting list figured out in the
Okay.
future. We're
That
not
would
gonna
be-
have this problem.
Okay, great. All right.
Further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor of the proposal for the Black River request with the caveat regarding the opportunity for the airport to extend the taxiway, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes. We appreciate your interest in being here. Give us a quick construction update.
There's gonna be a lot more construction.
Morning. My name's Connor Butterfield, engineer with Lochner. So we discussed Kilo, as I said, likely to go out to bid in December, get the most competitive bids at that time. That'll kind of iron out the numbers for everybody, what we're looking at for linear footage of a Kilo. Taxiway Charlie, so taxiways connect to the runways, not directly to hangars. Taxiway Charlie, we have a contractor, Staker Parsons. They will construct that in the spring. It was initially held up. The bids came in higher than allocated funds, so I worked with the state. Yeah, we had to rebid the project. Got a little convoluted, but ultimately the bids came out a little higher than we had allocated funds for. So I worked with the state, and they agreed to put more money in to get the project to go. The additional funds are at a 50-50 match. I've talked with John about this, and they've approved to match the 50-50 state funds to make the project go forward. So that'll happen in the spring. Your SRE truck is being built currently. So I got an estimate. They said middle to end of December is when delivery could happen. So it's being built locally in Salt Lake. Hopefully they stick with their estimate of December. That'd be great to get it before we get a lot of snow. Another 2026 project we have is Taxiway Bravo. So that'll get a pavement maintenance similar to Bob's photos of the south ramp, where you're gonna fill all the cracks and then put a rejuvenation oil on the top. And that's about all I had. Any questions for me?
Completely unrelated to construction, but based off of some of the stuff Bob presented, another consideration, he had talked about the beta possibly looking at doing a air taxi. An air taxi, just like a regular taxi, is a flight that you pay for. A departing seat that is paid for is an entitlement, or excuse me, is an emplanement, which impacts your entitlement funding. So lots of discussions about what FAA pays for, what it doesn't, how much money you get. Currently, your entitlements are $150,000 a year. If there are commercial flights, seats going out, whether they're paid charter or scheduled air service or unscheduled air service, they can count towards emplanements. You'll remain at $150,000 a year up to 2,500 emplanements, and then between 2,500 emplanements annually and 10,000, it's a stepwise. Each seat adds $100 and something from $150,000 to $1.3 million. So it's all dependent upon the emplanements. That's paying seats going out. If it's a private jet flying their private people, those do not count. But if it's a paid seat, whether it's like a NetJets or in Wheels Up type of charter, they can count towards emplanements.
At what point do you have to provide security?
Security,
Inspection and.
TSA comes into play with it can be scheduled or it can also even be unscheduled. It really depends on the flights. This type of flight, obviously they haven't even been certified aircraft yet. Most likely it would fly unsecured, at which point they would probably fly from the airport and then land on the eastern side of Salt Lake International and at Atlantic Aviation, Signature Aviation, their FBOs. They've coordinated that with several similar groups in the past. Boutique Air you might have heard of. They've flown multiple scheduled routes throughout the West. But it is just something else to consider. Yes.
Will it be on the Uber app?
I would anticipate by 2034, yes, when the Olympics are here, I would bet money that you will be able to get
32.
Uber.
The Olympics are in 32, aren't they?
Yeah. When the Olympics are here.
It won't become Uber.
Uber, well, it depends. Uber actually did a joint venture with a helicopter operator for the Sundance Film Festival. So it actually was Uber Air. And then Uber Air is also an investor in several of the vertical takeoff and landing startups and theoretical concepts. Everything is concept at this point because nothing's certified.
Anything else? We appreciate your interest and your being here. We will have items to discuss on the 4th of December, and we look forward to seeing you again at that time.
Let's set the time as 9 a.m., John.
Yes.
For next meeting?
The time will continue to be at 9 a.m. to accommodate other schedules.